What would you choose if it meant saving a life but losing everything you had? That question haunted Clara Bennett long before the night her life changed forever on a frozen train platform in Wyoming. Clara Bennett collapsed onto the cold wooden bench at the small train station, holding her nurse's bag tight against her chest as if it could protect her from the night. The train whistle faded into the dark winter air. The last train heading west had left, and with it went her final chance to reach the job she desperately needed. Her breath came out in white clouds, her fingers were stiff, losing feeling, and she could no longer tell if it was because of the cold or because her body was giving up. It was December 1887, and the Wyoming winter showed no mercy to anyone. A sharp wind cut through her wool coat. It had been a good coat back in Philadelphia, but it was no match for the western cold. Snowflakes fell lightly at first, but soon began hitting hard, stinging her cheeks as if the storm wanted her gone. The station's oil lamp flickered, the flames struggling to stay alive, just like her. Clara tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She held onto the bench, shaking. She had never imagined her life would end like this, not in a hospital saving lives, not surrounded by people grateful for her work, but alone, freezing, forgotten on a quiet platform in the middle of nowhere. Her ticket had been stolen, her money was gone, pride was all she had left, and pride could not light a fire or keep her alive. Hoofbeats broke through the sound of the wind. Clara lifted her head, her vision blurry from cold. Through the falling snow, she saw a tall rider approaching. His dark coat was dusted with snow, and his horse, a large bay, snorted into the freezing air. The rider stopped and got down from his horse. His steps toward her were slow and steady. She forced her voice to work. "Station's closed," she said, hearing the shake in her tone and hating it. "I can see that," he answered. His voice was deep and calm, as if the storm had no effect on him. "You waiting for someone?" Quote. "The train," she whispered. "It left." Quote. "Last one went an hour ago," he said. "I know." He studied her in the dim lamplight. Clara could barely make out his face, but she saw strong features and eyes that looked like they had seen too much. His coat alone told her he had money, not the showy kind, but the quiet kind that came from earned success. "I don't need pity," she said. "Good," he replied. "I don't give any." He held out his hand. "But I won't leave you to freeze either." Clara stared at his hand, then at the snow-covered darkness behind him. Her own hands were blue in the weak lamplight. She wanted to refuse out of pride, but she also wanted to live. She let him help her up. His grip was firm but gentle. When she swayed, he caught her before she fell. Up close he smelled like leather, pine, and something that felt like safety. She hadn't felt safe in a long time. "James Coleman," he said. "People call me Cole." "Clara Bennett." He lifted her up onto his horse like she weighed nothing. He swung up behind her and pulled his heavy coat around her shoulders without asking. It was warm and carried his scent. As he guided the horse into the snowy darkness, Clara looked back. The empty station faded away behind them. All her plans, everything she had hoped for out west, disappeared into the storm. But the warmth against her back was real, and she let herself lean into it for just a moment. Clara woke to the crackling sound of a fire and the smell of coffee. For a moment she thought she was back in the hospital dormitory in Philadelphia. But then she saw the bearskin rug on the floor, the wooden beams overhead, and she remembered the ride, the storm, and the man who had brought her here. She sat up too fast, and the room spun. "Easy." His voice came from the doorway. Cole stepped inside, holding a tin cup. "You were hypothermic, another hour, and—" He stopped before finishing the sentence. "Coffee." Clara checked herself. She was still dressed. Her boots stood beside the small bed. Her nurse's bag was on the table untouched. The cabin had one room, a stone fireplace, a small window showing the early morning light. "Where am I?" she asked. "Foreman's cabin on my ranch," Cole said. "I keep it ready even though my foreman retired. You're safe here." Safe. She wasn't sure she believed in that word anymore. She took the coffee. The heat warmed her hands and throat. "I'll be gone by morning." "It is morning," he said. "Next train is in 3 days." 3 days. 3 long days of charity, of being a burden, of living on someone else's kindness. She could not bear that. "I'll work for room and board," Clara said quickly. "I'm a surgical nurse. Your ranch hands get injured, I can help." Cole watched her for a moment. Something in his expression shifted. Maybe respect. "Then call me Cole," he said. "And if you want to work, I won't stop you. This ranch can be dangerous." As if to prove the point, shouting erupted outside. Cole moved toward the door, and Clara grabbed her bag and followed. 3 men were struggling to hold down a ranch hand named Pablo. His arm was bleeding badly. Clara knelt in the dirt without waiting for permission. She took control with steady hands, cleaned the wound, stitched it, and wrapped it. In minutes, the bleeding stopped, and Pablo began to calm. The ranch hands stared at her as if she were a miracle. Cole looked at her with a different kind of respect now. 3 days, he said quietly. You work, you stay. No charity. No charity, she agreed. That evening, an older man with silver hair and kind eyes stopped by. His name was Moses. He spoke to Cole outside. Clara heard her name and the old man's warning. "Town's going to talk, boss," Moses said. "A young woman staying alone at your ranch. People will judge." "They always do," Cole said, his voice steady, but Clara noticed the way he gripped the porch rail until his knuckles turned white. Inside the cabin, Clara stared at the fire. She had heard whispers destroy her once before. She would not let them do it again. But she already knew. In this town, rumors spread faster than wildfire. And this was only the beginning. Clara thought a small town like Redemption would be different from Philadelphia, but the look she received the moment she stepped off the wagon with Cole told her she was wrong. Whispers followed her like shadows. Cole said nothing about it, but Clara could feel the weight of the town's eyes on her back. The wagon stopped in front of Harmon's General Store. Clara had forgotten how uncomfortable it felt to have so many people staring at her at once. The muddy street, the wooden walkways, the mountains rising tall behind the town, everything felt harsh and judgmental. "You need a proper coat," Cole said, helping her down. "And boots. Winter here is cruel. If you're staying, I can't have you freezing again." Before she could argue, he was already inside the store. Clara followed. Warm air and the smell of wood and spices filled the room. Mrs. Harmon, the store owner, offered a polite smile, but her eyes were curious, as if trying to solve a puzzle. "Mr. Coleman," she said, "and this must be your guest." "Miss Bennett works for me," Cole said calmly. "She needs outfitting." Quote, he picked up a deep blue wool coat, thick, warm, finely made. Clara touched the sleeve, and her chest tightened. Accepting help made her feel like she was sinking, like she owed something she could never repay. The bell above the door rang. Mrs. Eleanor Harris entered with cold air swirling around her. She wore a fancy coat, fur trim, and sharp eyes that could cut a person down without a word. The banker's wife. The woman people feared more than the judge or sheriff. "James Coleman?" she said loudly, making sure everyone heard. "How generous of you to take in strays." Although one must wonder what services she provides in return. The store fell silent. Clara's face went hot. Here it was again. Different town, same cruelty. Philadelphia had judged her too, and it had destroyed everything she worked for. Cole stepped closer to her. His hand rested on her shoulder. Just for a moment, but the meaning was clear. Protective, public. A message to everyone watching. "Miss Bennett is a trained surgical nurse," Cole said. "Yesterday, she saved one of my ranch hands from losing his arm. My ranch is safer with her there." Mrs. Harris raised her eyebrows. "People will talk." "Let them," Cole replied. He paid for the coat, handed it to Clara, and walked out. Clara followed, breathing hard. Snowflakes drifted through the air again. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did. I'm leaving in 2 days anyway." Cole loaded supplies into the wagon. He paused. Too long. "What if you didn't?" Clara looked at him, afraid to understand what he meant. "What are you saying, Cole?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes said everything. The train station was visible in the distance, empty and cold, but neither of them moved toward it. "One more week," Clara heard herself say quietly. "Just to be sure Pablo's arm heals the right way." Cole nodded. 1 more week. But both of them knew it would not be only 1 week. Days passed. 1 week turned into 2. 2 turned into 3. Clara told herself she stayed only to help the injured men. A broken finger. A rib kicked by a horse. A fever that worried a ranch hand's wife. There was always someone who needed her. But deep down, she knew the truth. She enjoyed the ranch. She enjoyed seeing Cole walk toward her across the yard. She enjoyed hearing him call her name. January froze the land. One morning, Clara rushed to the barn after hearing yelling. Cole's favorite horse, Sable, lay on her side, breathing fast and shallow. Clara knelt beside the animal, her hands gently pressing along Sable's belly. "Twisted intestine," she said quietly. "If I don't operate, she won't live till morning." Cole's jaw tightened. Sable was more than just a horse. She had been his late wife Sarah's horse. A wedding gift. A memory. One of the last pieces of his old life. "Can you save her?" Cole asked. "I can try," Clara answered. "But I've never operated on a horse. I need you to hold the lantern steady." For 2 long hours Clara worked. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. Cole held the lantern, never letting his hand shake. Clara fought to save the horse's life, while Cole fought the memories of the wife he could not save. When it was done, Sable lived. They sat outside the barn with coffee, both exhausted. Steam rose in the icy morning air. "My wife Sarah died 3 years ago," Cole said. "The doctor didn't arrive in time." Clara waited. "I keep thinking if I had ridden faster, found him sooner, maybe she'd still be alive." "You can't carry that," Clara said softly. He looked at her. "Can't I?" Clara's voice lowered. "In Philadelphia, I made the right medical choice. A poor man and a wealthy man were both dying. I saved the one who could survive. The wealthy man's family destroyed my name. I lost my job, my home, everything. Doing good cost me everything, so I ran west." "I understand," Cole said. His voice sounded like he meant it. Later that day, Moses watched Cole fixing the foreman's cabin. A new shelf, extra firewood stacked inside, blankets, repairs done with care. "You're courting her, aren't you?" Moses asked. "I'm making repairs," Cole replied without looking up. Moses chuckled. "Sure you are. That woman has a strong heart. Don't waste this chance." That night, snow fell hard. A blizzard rolled across the land. Cole came to the cabin to secure the shutters, but the storm trapped him there. He stood near the door, snow covering his hat and coat. "You can't leave," Clara said. "You'll die out there." "I shouldn't stay." "Propriety does not matter tonight," Clara said firmly. "Sit by the fire, please." They sat across from each other, the fire between them. The storm howled outside. The cabin walls shook with the wind. "I haven't visited Sarah's grave in months," Cole said quietly. "Feels like I'm forgetting her." Clara stared at the fire. "She would want you to live, not carry guilt forever." "How do you know?" "Because if I loved someone, I'd want them to keep living, not stay trapped in pain." The cold grew worse. Clara made a decision. Not for romance, she told herself. For survival. She sat beside him and wrapped a blanket around both of them. He hesitated only a second before placing his arm around her shoulders. Her head rested against him. They sat like that for a long time, just breathing together. "Clara?" Cole whispered. She looked up. His eyes asked a question. Her eyes answered. The kiss was soft, careful, full of fear and hope. When they pulled away, both shook from more than cold. "I don't know how to do this again," Cole whispered. "Neither do I, so we learned together." They slept in each other's arms, the storm raging outside. Morning came clear, but the peace did not last. A boy delivering supplies spotted Cole leaving the cabin. He saw everything, and gossip in small towns spread faster than wildfire. 2 days later, Clara stood inside Redemption Church surrounded by people who believed they had the right to judge her. Reverend Thompson tried to speak gently, but Mrs. Harris made sure every word cut deep. Then Cole's brother, Thomas, arrived from Denver and demanded Clara leave the ranch. Cole walked in and saw Clara alone, surrounded, being judged because of him. He hesitated. Clara saw it. That one moment of hesitation broke something inside her. She walked out of the church without looking back. Cole called her name, but she kept walking. She left the ranch, left the cabin, left everything behind. And this time, she did not look back. Clara's hands were sore and cracked from long hours washing dishes in the saloon kitchen. It had been 2 weeks since she left the ranch. She now lived in a small boarding house that smelled like damp wood and loneliness. The people of Redemption stayed polite, but distant. Whispers still followed her, but now they carried a tone of victory, as if the town had saved Cole from a scandal. At least no one could accuse her of impropriety anymore. She was alone, just as they wanted. A scream cut through the afternoon air. Clara ran outside and saw a young girl collapse on the boardwalk, clutching her side, pale and shaking with pain. It was Emma Harris, Mrs. Harris's daughter. Clara knelt beside her and felt the girl's forehead. Burning with fever, her breath was shallow and desperate. "Appendicitis," Clara said. "She needs surgery now or she will die." Mrs. Harris arrived in a panic. "What's wrong with her?" Clara looked her straight in the eyes. "I need a place to operate. Now." "You are not a doctor," Mrs. Harris snapped. "I am all you have," Clara replied. "Decide?" Mrs. Harris looked at her daughter, her fear stronger than her pride. She nodded once. The saloon owner cleared a table in the kitchen. Clara did the surgery with whiskey as anesthetic, and a butcher knife she sterilized in boiling water. 2 saloon girls held the lantern steady while Clara worked for 30 long minutes, stitching and praying the girl would live. When it was over, Emma survived. Mrs. Harris sat beside her daughter, holding her hand and crying quietly. Clara cleaned up, packed her bag, and turned to leave. "Thank you," Mrs. Harris said, not meeting her eyes. It wasn't warm, but it was real. Clara left without waiting for praise. She did what needed to be done. That was enough. At the Coleman Ranch, Cole wasn't himself anymore. He didn't shave, didn't eat. The ranch hands worried. Some days he rode for hours, lost in thought. Other days he sat in the barn beside Sable, who pressed her nose gently against him as if she understood. Thomas pushed him every day. Sell the ranch, start a new life. Forget the nurse. Quote. Cole didn't answer. The ranch felt empty without Clara's footsteps, her voice, her light. One night, Cole rode to his late wife Sarah's grave. Snow covered the ground in a thin white sheet. He sat in the cold beside the headstone. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I failed again. I failed you, and I failed Clara. You deserved better, so did she." For the first time in years, Cole cried. Not because of Sarah's death, but because he realized he had been letting his fear ruin every chance of happiness he had left. Moses found him there. He didn't speak until Cole finished crying. "Your wife's death wasn't your choice," Moses said, "but how you live now is. Clara gave you a chance to heal. You pushed her away." "What if I lose her again?" Cole whispered. "You already did," Moses said. "The question is, are you brave enough to win her back?" Cole looked at the ground, then at the sky. Snowflakes landed softly on his hat. He stood. "I'm going," he said. Sunday morning came cold and bright. Snow dusted the rooftops of Redemption. Church bells rang. People gathered inside, not knowing what was about to happen. The service had begun when the doors of the church swung open. Cold wind rushed inside, and everyone turned. Cole walked down the aisle with a determined look in his eyes. Every step felt like a battle won. Reverend Thompson fell silent. The hymn stopped mid-note. Clara sat in the back, frozen in place, her heart racing. "I need to speak," Cole said. "You can listen or you can throw me out. But I'm not leaving until I say this." No one moved. The room held its breath. 2 weeks ago, I let this town judge Clara Bennett. I stayed quiet when she needed me to speak. I hesitated. And that hesitation cost me the best woman I've ever known." He looked around the church at every face that once whispered about Clara. "You call this morality?" he said. "Clara helped your families, saved your ranch hands, saved your children, and still you judged her." Mrs. Harris shifted, her eyes dropping. Cole continued, "In Philadelphia, Clara lost everything because she chose to save a poor man's life over a rich man's son. She came here to start over, and all she got was more judgment." He stepped toward Clara, his voice steady. "Clara Bennett, I was a coward. I let fear rule me. I let the past trap me. And I hurt you when you deserved nothing but loyalty." Clara's eyes filled with tears. Cole took a breath. "I'm asking you in front of everyone who doubted you, will you marry me? Not to silence gossip, not to save reputation, but because I cannot live another day pretending I don't love you." The church went silent. Hearts pounded. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Clara stood, slowly. She walked to him down the aisle. People watched with wide eyes. She stopped in front of Cole. "You hesitated before." "I did," he said. "I won't again. Not ever." Clara breathed in, her voice soft but sure. "Then yes." Gasps filled the room. Moses stood first. "I stand with them." Pablo stood next. "Me too." One by one, ranch hands stood. Then Mr. Harmon. Finally, Mrs. Harris rose, chin trembling, and nodded once. It was acceptance. Reverend Thompson cleared his throat. "Well, if you both agree, we can hold the wedding right now." Clara laughed, a free and joyful sound. "Right now is just fine." They were married right there in the small church. No fancy dress, no decorations, just love that had survived pain, gossip, and fear. When Cole kissed his bride, the church clapped. Even Mrs. Harris wiped her eyes. Spring came early that year. The small foreman's cabin was rebuilt with new walls, a porch, and a small clinic added for Clara's work. Wildflowers grew around the house, purple and yellow, planted by Clara's hands. People now called her Dr. Coleman. She didn't correct them. Respect was respect, however it arrived. Mrs. Harris visited one day, holding a jar of peach preserves. She didn't stay long, but managed a quiet, sincere, "Thank you for saving Emma." Clara nodded. "You're welcome." Clara's belly grew round with new life. 6 months along now. In the evenings, she and Cole sat on the porch, looking over the land that finally felt like home. Cole wrapped his arms around her as the sun set over the mountains. "You know," Clara said softly, "I spent so long running from judgment I forgot to build something for myself. Now I'm building everything." Inside, hanging by the door, was the blue coat Cole bought her the first week. It waited now for the child who would one day wear it. Moses walked by and tipped his hat, smiling. In the distance, a wolf howled at the moon. Not a warning, just a song. "Welcome home, Mrs. Coleman," Cole whispered. Clara placed her hand on her belly, smiling as the baby kicked. "I've been home for a long time now." The mountain stood tall, the future bright, and the love that began on a frozen train platform had made history in the hearts of everyone who witnessed it.